So hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Undocumented Startup. My name is Juanma Hernandez and I run entrepreneurship programs for undocumented students in California. And I use this podcast to share some behind the scenes of my own journey building my company. Now in today's episode, we are going to end off 2024. We're going to end up 2024 by talking about the 8 money lessons that I've learned in 2024. So I hope y'all find this helpful, and just remember to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you're watching it on YouTube, and follow the podcast if you're listening to it on Spotify. All right.
Welcome to Undocumented Startup by Juan Maya Hernandez.
All right. So lesson number 1, set aside money for taxes. Lesson number 1 is to set aside money for taxes. Very underrated. This is one of the things that I always underestimated how much I needed to save. But now that I started working with an accountant, now I know that I need to save 15% for my taxes. So that means that out of every $100, I am saving $15 into taxes, and I have a way to sort of automate that, with my business bank account. So that's lesson number 1, to set aside money for taxes. Don't forget to do your taxes, especially if you're an undocumented entrepreneur. This is going to be extremely helpful. All right, money lesson number 2. Have a more consistent revenue stream to supplement business income. I posted a very similar TikTok video where I talked about the importance of having a consistent revenue stream. But one of the things that I've learned this year as I was doing my business full time was just that my contracts come on Q3, Q4 of the year. So that leaves me that left me this year with Q1 and Q2 not having a lot of cash flow. So I didn't have a lot of money, and it makes it hard for you to it made it hard for me to develop a savings. It made it hard for me to budget, all that stuff, because I was just going day by day based on the contracts that I landed in those, Q3, Q4. So going into 2025, I am open more into the idea of, getting a more consistent revenue stream. That means picking up a part-time job, maybe an internship, maybe a full-time job, or maybe just even working, with another entrepreneur that I know, helping them build something. But that is going to give me some more. It's going to reduce the anxiety that I had when I wasn't making money. It's going to reduce the cash flow problems as Prepare gets to the point where it can fund itself and it can sustain itself. All right, so that's money lesson number 2. Money lesson number 3 is that money is abundant and there's money everywhere. Right, now what I mean by this, money is everywhere in a sense that if you're looking for money, you are gonna find it. Right, you are gonna find it. There's no lack of money. That was something that I always used to think about. I used to always say, like, okay, money is a very mysterious thing. I don't know how to make it, so stop making money a mystery. It's not a mystery. At least right now, I'm in a position where I'm working for time. Even though my contracts, I am able to charge a little bit more with my business. There's money everywhere. And the moment that I began to start looking for opportunities instead of setbacks, I started looking at ways where I can make money. Right, so I have DACA, so I'm thinking about, like, well, I could potentially do Uber. I could potentially get a part-time job. I could potentially work at a Chipotle or something, just to supplement the income. But understanding that there's a lot of money out there, it's just up to me to go and find it, makes life easier. So going into 2025, now that I understand that there's so many ways of making money, that's the goal. Money lesson number 4 is to think bigger, right? Thinking big is free at the end of the day, right? Thinking big is free at the end of the day. And I think a lot of the times I didn't do that, even though, I preach about it a lot of the times. Sometimes I get stuck in this reality of, like, I should be making this amount because this is where my community is or whatever. So I put myself in a box, and that prevents me from, thinking bigger and wanting more, and understanding that, like, having more money doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you more of who you really are. Right, so now going into 2025, I'm just like, all right, let's just think bigger, right? Understanding that there's no lack of money, and understanding that I could have another way of consistent revenue is gonna make it easier for me to get to bigger goals, right? So instead of my goal being 10,000, why don't I push it to 100,000 and see if I can save that money and see of ways that I can get there, right? So that's money lesson number 4. Money lesson number 5 is that health impacts your wealth. Okay, or wellness actually. So I got sick a lot more than I wanted this year. I got sick a lot more, and it was a warning sign for me that I was doing something wrong. I was eating so much junk food on a weekly basis, maybe because I was stressed, whatever. I realized that when I'm not at my 100%, I am just not able to fully focus on what I am doing, and I actually lost some opportunities because I got sick on certain times and I had to cancel something. So understanding that now in 2025, what I want to work on is my health, right? So that means getting good quality sleep, is making sure that I don't have anxiety when I wake up, making sure that I exercise. I started exercising a lot more like how I used to, 4 to 5 times a week. I go to the gym, trying to eat better, trying not to get sick, and thankfully I think I've already developed a great rhythm within the past 2-3 months. So so going into 2025, I'm just gonna be continuing this path and see if I don't get as sick as much, right? Because that's one of the things that I don't want to have. All right. Next lesson is having money makes life easier, right? Having money makes life easier. I got complacent this year in terms of, okay, I have my business, I'm doing it full time. This is all the money that I'm gonna make. And I was okay with that, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I also turned 25 this year, and I'm also starting to think about where do I want to be in the next 5-10 years. And the reality is that I don't want to be in the same position where I was this year, right? I don't want to be in the same position where I was this year. And even though I was paying all my bills, I didn't have enough. I wasn't making enough money to set aside for my savings, set aside to invest in other areas. I want to take some courses. I just wasn't at that level. But when I did have a good month, right, with my company, with Prepare, I was able to do those things. I was able to sign up for a course that I wanted. But having money just makes life easier, right? And the more money you have, the more, the easier life gets, really. Money buys experiences, money buys knowledge, money buys connections to people. I want to get connected to the community that is going to help me get to where I want to be in the next 5 years. But I know those conferences, I know those business experiences, those mentors, access to those mentors is going to cost some money. So I would just want to make sure that now that I understand that having money makes life easier, I want to continue growing that. All right. Lesson number 7 is to grow your savings. Grow your savings. This is something that I didn't really think about too much in 2024 as well. Having a good savings makes life easier. I was trying to become more independent this year, but just because I didn't have enough savings, I wasn't able to make that jump, right? So now going into 2025, I do want to make sure that because I am making more money, because I'm setting aside money for my taxes, because I'm going to be budgeting, I want to start developing my savings account, right? Because again, this is connected to the previous lesson that I talked about, that having money makes life easier, right? And if the more money you have, I believe the more peace I'll have and the more freedom I'll have, really, right? Like what I enjoy doing the most with my business this year is that I get to wake up at any time. I get to go to the gym at any time. I get to work at any time. I could do contracts. I could do programs anywhere in the morning. I could do programs in the evening. It doesn't really matter because I take control of that. But I know that if I want that life, I need to take some sacrifices in the next few months and next few years, so I'm able to get that and live life on my own terms. But growing a savings, now I'm thinking of growing my savings to a 6-month emergency fund, growing my savings so I can pay off my debt from college, which is something that I didn't. Again, a lot of these things I didn't even think about at 24 years old. Now I'm 25, but now I'm more serious about things. And the last lesson of 2025, money-wise, is that having money allows you to donate to things you care about, right? It allows you to donate to things you care about. For example, this year, I was close. Oh, actually, I need to do the math, but I was able to donate to different undocumented student centers that I work with a percentage of the income that I got paid, right? And nothing brings more joy to me than being able to use my money for that. And I want to make that a tradition where every single year, from the revenue that I make, whether it's 1% or 0.5% of the revenue, I'm able to give back. And I think that's what makes it all worth it, right? Like, that's what makes it worth it. I want to continue doing it. Not about just staying there, I want to make more money for sure going into 2025. And hopefully this opens up a lot more doors, right? This opens up a lot more doors. And I guess the last bonus lesson that I'll land here, before I make this video way too long, is that it's not enough, right? It's not enough. At least at the stage where I'm at, there's always a need for more, and it's not an opportunity. And this is not the time where I just sit back and I relax, right? I'm 25, I have no kids, I have no other responsibilities, and I'm just ready to see what I can do next year with all this knowledge that I developed, and to see how far I can take this company, and to see how far I can invest into myself and continue to grow as a person. But with that being said, everybody, I hope you found this video helpful. I am gonna get more consistent in 2025. I know I didn't post a lot. I know I didn't post as much this year, but going into next year, I do want to bring you all more into the behind the scenes, have less edited videos. I just want to post more content about the journey, because I'm sure that one of you out there is going to find this helpful, and it also allows me to look back on it. And like, I want to film a behind the scenes of me going to one of my programs, running it, what it takes to organize it, how I just want to share a little bit more. But with that being said, everyone, I really, really appreciate you all for supporting me, in 2024. And I hope that I can continue having your support in 2025. And as always, be motivated and stay motivated, baby. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Undocumented Startup by Juan Maya Hernandez.